back, listeners, to another powerful episode of the BizBlend podcast where business meets bold ideas. I'm your host, Sana, as always, and today's episode is going to shake up how we think about leadership and consciousness in the workplace. Yeah, you heard it right, consciousness in the workplace. And listeners, we are joined by a truly visionary guest, Charley Johnson, who brings together 20 plus years of corporate leadership, 7 years leading the Pay It Forward Foundation, and over a decade immersed in deep spiritual work with an enlightened teacher. Well, his unique background has birthed a groundbreaking role that more businesses are now beginning to explore, the Chief Consciousness Officer, which is a position designed to help companies evolve, remain deeply human in this digital era, and consciously navigate through the age of AI. In a world which is driven by speed, scale, and disruption, what if the real competitive edge is clarity, neutrality, and a higher level of consciousness? So let's quickly explore into this deeply enlightened conversation. So, Charlie, welcome to the show, and it is such an honor to have you with us.
Thank you for having me on, and thank you for helping spread the word about this new position.
Absolutely. I mean, this is so interesting and creative. I have had conversations where you know CEOs they were positioning themselves as a non-CEO or different positions, but bringing consciousness into the world of CX. So I mean, this is really interesting, Charlie. So um, you have coined this word for future-ready businesses. So how exactly do you define this role in practical, I mean, day-to-day terms within a company or a business or a startup?
So, what I usually like to do is to immediately say what it's not. So, when people
Okay.
hear consciousness, they immediately think of spirituality. If
Mhm.
it's not spirituality, they go to the wellness programs that small, medium, and large companies have implemented the last 20 years, and they probably immediately think this is not going to work, right? Well, this is not a new wellness program. This has nothing to do with spirituality. This is tactical. This is about bringing clarity to unclear motives, unclear companies, unclear executives, unclear employees. And I don't say that in a negative way. I just say that in a way that look at the world we have. Look at how divided and conflicted the world is. Look at how much conflict there is just within an organization, within a team, within a sales team or a marketing team, within executives, political, religion. There's so much division and conflict. And when you talk about bringing consciousness into a business, it's kind of misleading. But I love these questions and I love being able to talk about this because consciousness has always been there. Everything is consciousness. Everything. Everything physical and non-physical is
Yeah.
consciousness. Consciousness has been within the organization, within employees, within executives, within the brand, whatever it is, since the beginning. You and I are consciousness. Everyone's consciousness. Everything physical and non-physical. All of our thoughts. Everything. The difference is we're not aware of it. It has been this topic, this word that is starting to be spoken about more. And again, they think it's spiritual. They think it's this magical thing that no one
Mhm.
understands and that we can't tap into. Well, you already tapped into it. The difference
Mhm.
is everyone's had a blank check, including companies. And with that blank check, they've cashed it for $100. Well, I don't know about you, but if I had a blank check, I'd be cashing it for 100 million, a billion. I'd be cashing it for a very large amount. That's
Yeah.
consciousness. When you're
Mhm.
unaware of it, you don't use it. You have been using this. Everyone on the planet, most people in business have been using the mind. The mind's just the middleman. Consciousness is fundamental to our reality. There's still some people that believe that consciousness is created by the brain. But the best example of that is like being in your car, listening to the radio and expecting to dive into the radio and the band that's playing is within the radio. That's just not the
Okay.
case. Right? Consciousness is fundamental to our reality. It's where we come from. It's where all knowledge comes from. It's what we are. So let's just be aware of it. So the chief consciousness officer is going to make people aware of it. They're going to raise the consciousness of everyone within the organization just by being present. Again, it won't be about meditation or mindfulness or yoga or Tai Chi or anything that these companies have tried to do the last 20 years. And in regards to those wellness programs and the last 20 years of trying to bring
Mhm.
meditation, mindfulness, yoga, everything within these organizations, their heart was in the right place. I know it's the right thing to do. But my question is, how's it working? This world has never been more divided and more conflicted. So obviously, these wellness programs, which I don't want to take away, which I don't think are bad, I think they're great. They're not working in the way they thought they were because
Mhm.
they were done in a unique way, an inauthentic way that employees really didn't engage in. Maybe HR was forced to because something happened. A CEO signed off on it in the budget because they felt like they needed to. It wasn't done for, in a sense, the right reasons. Some of them did, but even for the ones who did it for the right reasons, look at the world. Look at how much division and conflict is on the outside. Look how much
Yeah.
division and conflict is within. So, on top of the division and conflict internally that we have, why is that happening? Well, that's consciousness. As it raises, it thins the veil. It doesn't allow us the opportunity to suppress, because as humans, we're really good at lying to ourselves, suppressing what we don't want to deal with. When consciousness comes up, all of that stuff comes up and we don't have the ability to just push it aside. So imagine even with that, having someone on staff who can calm the fear, calm the fear of the unknown, calm the fear of I'm thinking different thoughts. I've lost my confidence. Where are these thoughts coming from? Why are these emotions coming up? I haven't thought about this for 20 years. I've never thought about this. What is wrong with me? What did I do? What is it the job? Is it my boss? Is it my spouse? No, it's consciousness. Everything you've ever suppressed is coming up. So imagine having someone on staff who can talk about that. When we're made aware of why something is happening that we don't understand, it brings the fear down. It creates less conflict and division. So within an organization, imagine having someone on staff that can give clarity to every employee from customer service up to the CEO. That to me is the most powerful thing on this planet. It's the next logical hire.
So, Charlie, I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, but I just want to ask. Um, so, as you can mention that, for the last 20 years, yes, companies have worked on wellness programs, from my experience as well. Whenever I mean, I have taken a break from my corporate life for almost a year now, and before that I was having some problems at the workplace because of my personal issues. Let's just say that, people say personal and professional life should not intersect, but definitely they are interconnected, individual.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it was my performance at the workplace, and a kind of very bland suggestion I got from the HR that try some meditation, try some yoga, clear your mind.
Mhm.
But it didn't I didn't kind of have the idea, okay, fine. Thank you so much for the advice, but from where do I start exactly? How do I start? I mean, i- is it even okay if I just start doing meditation from today itself and that will solve all my problems? So, with this consciousness concept at the workplace, what is the value proposition for the leaders there, for the managers there, and overall the people there who are the most valuable resource for an
Well,
organization?
just like you said, when you had some issues, you went to HR and you were given a very bland piece of advice,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
that's what HR does, and I love HR. I'm not saying, but they're in a certain position where there's certain things they can't really advise to. There's a lot of legal issues. There's a lot of things they can get in trouble for. So it has to be, very generic. Imagine having someone on staff that if you came to me, we would have a conversation like we're having now. Well, there's a lot going on the planet. There's a lot of timelines are shifting. The planets are shifting. The astrology is shifting. The Vedic, the Kali Yuga is shifting. Like there's so much going on that when that discussion's happened, it changes everything. It's not generic advice. It may be someone in the organization that says, listen, you're really struggling right now. Maybe you should take a break. Well, should I meditate? Well, if that's what you want to do, here's some forms of meditation I can help you with, but it's not going to solve certain things. Having someone on staff who really understands consciousness, understands the planet, understands what's happening, understands why it's happening, understanding what clarity is, what meditation will and will not do, what yoga will and will not do, what the other modalities that are out there that are very fringe that may help with the understanding of why you're going through this. Imagine having someone on staff that is basically like an encyclopedia for consciousness,
Yeah.
who's not stringent, who's not restricted by HR, who's not restricted by the CEO, who is very well understood inside the organization as someone who's neutral, who does not have a dog in the fight, who does not care what your beliefs are, who is not for you or against you, is just this open space. Basically, it's like going to the Google of consciousness and putting some questions in or putting questions into ChatGPT and getting back
Oh,
very good answers that are very specific to you. Right, so you just kinda proved the point there, it's perfect. Hey, you went to HR looking for advice. They gave you decent
mhm.
advice, but you okay, where do I go? What does that mean?
Perfect.
And
Mhm.
there's a million different options for meditation. There's a million different options for yoga, everything else. Usually, when we have too many options, we don't choose, we just freeze. So, again,
Mhm.
having someone on staff who can help with the wellness programs, but they're not a wellness program, who can help with clarity, who can
Mhm.
tactically, strategically help a CEO move the company forward, who can be a
Mhm.
neutral space for VPs, for middle managers, for the C-suite executives, all the way down to employees. Everything is consciousness. The shift happening on this planet that's creating all the chaos is
Yeah.
consciousness. Where we're going is a higher consciousness. So just like when technology took over businesses, you hired a CTO. You needed a
Yes.
chief technology officer because the CEO had no clue what the internet was or what coding was or what a website was. So you hired someone who understood that. Well, now artificial intelligence, that's not technology. That's consciousness. We put the world artificial in front of it. But who created it? We did. We created that. It's not artificial. It's just another it's a consciousness that we don't have access to yet, but we can because knowledge is structured in consciousness, which means everything you've ever known, learned, or will ever learn, ever think, ever read a book
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
is consciousness. So again, tie it all together. We're consciousness. Our thoughts are consciousness. All knowledge is consciousness. We have access to it all. So allowing customer service or anyone at any level in the company understand that, it really starts to expand their awareness. It gives them
Mhm.
access to that very powerful, vast resource. Because in the beginning, they didn't even know it existed, right? It's the like the fish metaphor. Wise fish swimming in the ocean, swims by two young fish and says, "Hey boys, how's the water?" The two fish look at each other and say, "What's water?" That is consciousness. You and I and your listeners are swimming in consciousness. It's always been there. But if you're not paying attention to it, how do you utilize it?
Mhm. Those are some really thought-provoking questions, Charlie. But let's see this from another perspective.
Yeah.
Is isn't there a risk that introducing a role like chief consciousness officer could be seen as too woo-woo for traditional companies who are focused on performance metrics and ROI? I mean, right now we are at that cusp of economy or business world where everything is defined by numbers. I mean, the individual's longevity career is defined by the numbers. The company's longevity is defined by the profits they're putting every quarter, every year. How do you bridge this gap?
Easy.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it, right? A very, very good Einstein quote. I have the business background. I have the nonprofit background. I have the time with my teacher. Most people who would think about this position think they're going to go hire some white, loose clothing, mala bead wearing hippie that hugs a tree and is very spiritual. And they're going to come into this position and tell everyone to meditate and that money's for the birds. Well, you can already tell by my passion, how I'm dressed, how I talk, like there's nothing spiritual about me. And the first thing out of my mouth to anyone is, this is consciousness is not spiritual. Okay, you're religious. That's consciousness. You hate spirituality. That's consciousness as well. You only care about business and money. Great. That's consciousness as well. This is not spiritual. Consciousness is everything. So if it's about profits, you're going to have more clarity on how to gain profit. If it's about numbers, you're going to have clarity on where those numbers are coming from and how to move them forward. The consciousness officer will help the CFO, will help human resources, will help marketing, will help sales, will help the CEO. It's a secret weapon. You're basically sitting next to any one of those C-suite executives and giving them a level of clarity they've never had. Because a really powerful consciousness, because of the neutrality I have, it's a rising tide brings up all ships. My consciousness, my energy is just this engulfing thing, just like my teacher showed me, that when anyone is in a meeting, or if I'm just sitting in a meeting, it's bringing clarity out in everyone who crosses paths with me. Now, that may not make sense, but
Mhm.
imagine again how I'm describing it. If I'm a CEO, or I'm a C-suite executive, or I'm a business owner, there's something about that that is very attractive to them. So you're going to give me clarity on direction. Yes. I'm going to give you clarity on strategy. Yes. Am I going to give you clarity on the numbers? Are you going to be able to help it? Yes. Because everything you're breaking down, you've got a CFO here and a CMO here and just CRO over there and a CCO communications all of them have been separated. They're all a part
Mhm.
of the same company. A chief consciousness officer engulfs it all. They have the ability to help anyone at any position, at any level of an organization. And it's not spiritual. It's not, you're never going to hear me say, well, I know you're having issues with the money and you need to figure out a way for cash flow. We'll go meditate on it. No, no. The same mind that creates a problem can't solve it. So if the CFO's here, and just by having a chief consciousness officer, it expands everyone's awareness. Here's his answers. They got to be right here. You expand this. Now all of his answers are out here. It expands answers. It expands the ability solutions. It expands the access to knowledge because knowledge is structured in consciousness. So when we bring clarity, we bring an expanded awareness. You have access to more knowledge, to more solutions, to more information. Anyone who
Yeah.
hears that, again, from a normal corporate individual who can talk their lingo, who has been a part of businesses, who hasn't left the world behind because they hate capitalism or hate business,
Mm.
they're going to listen to that because I'm coming from where they're coming from. I understand business. I understand nonprofit, but I also have the unique combination of understanding consciousness at a level very few people do. So there's a clarity for that. And if I'm an organization, they've been hiring consultant after consultant after consultant after consultant who comes in for a week or a month or 6 weeks, tells them what to do, changes things up and leaves. That's fine. That's how we've done things. Again, look at the world. It's not really working the best. Imagine having someone on staff in the trenches at the watering hole, creating a neutral understanding for everyone in the business so they can be authentic, so they can be more of themselves, so there can be less division and conflict when we start to have more compassion for each other, who gives clarity to even the most materialistic, profit hungry CEO. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to give you clarity on that. When you
Mhm.
have more clarity, there's a natural occurrence in a human being to do things in a better way. That's just the way it is. So even if they have a very low level of clarity, low level of consciousness, taking someone from third grade up to fourth or fifth is going to help the collective. That's just the way it is. And
Mhm.
the shift on this planet is consciousness, and not everyone's awakening, but at different levels. So there's that natural invisible power that's just consciousness shifting everyone up, and it's the same force that turns a 22-year-old into a 23. After 365 days, you naturally age. So
Mhm.
when people start to understand what that is, you just view the world differently. You approach problems differently. You approach people differently. You approach the business differently, your employees differently. And that's a good thing. That's what we need.
Sense. Makes sense. And do you have any case studies where a business significantly saw uh, a difference? Maybe a shift in consciousness led to a breakthrough in business strategy or team dynamics.
Yeah. So I'm working with an individual right now that's taking on healthcare, and he's been working on some stuff for quite some time, uh, probably 18 months to 24 months. He's been kind of fleshing things out. After a few discussions, all I did was listen. I wanted to absorb everything he was talking about, not only his ideas and his vision, but I wanted to absorb him, his
Mhm.
insecurities, his fears, how he approached things, how he told me about things, how he would say things, what triggered him. And after 2 or 3 meetings, we got more accomplished in the coming 2 to 3 weeks than he had in the last 2 years because it
Mhm.
broke down the clarity. It gave him a different perception. It started to expand how he was looking at things. It brought him clarity to what he needed to do moving forward. Same thing
Mhm.
with there's a soccer club here where I'm from, one of the largest in the state. And they were talking about some things about a facility, about what they wanted to do, a lot of sponsorships, scholarships, all this stuff. They've been talking about it at the board level for 3 to 5 years. I think it was 5 years. After a couple of weeks of meeting, changing things up, talking to them about consciousness, even though they didn't understand it, that seed was planted. We both know the universe is an incredible gardener, so it started to water it. More was done in the last 2 to 3 weeks, probably about a month, than had been priorly done in the last 5 years. You're the same mind that creates the problem can't solve it. So if this mind that created the system the company's working at is here and it stays here and there's an
Mhm.
issue and the system's breaking, everything you need, the difference, they're out here. You've got to expand the awareness. So when people come and say, well, what business is ready for this? What company's ready for this? What size? What employ? Everybody, everybody, every company is going to benefit almost immediately from a chief consciousness officer because you're going to bring clarity. I don't really want to expand on that because that's a very simple answer. Clarity. Clarity in business, clarity in strategy, clarity in marketing, clarity in sales, clarity in your customers, clarity in why the world is the way the world is, why there is so much division and conflict, why Susie and Ed in sales don't get along, why HR is having issues with hiring. Having the neutrality I don't have things blocked off. I don't have a certain God or a religion that I believe in, and that anyone over here that doesn't believe me or doesn't feel what I feel is wrong. I'm absorbing everything from everyone from every angle and spitting out, in a sense, very simple, clear answers that anyone can access. And because it's coming from a neutral standpoint, it's not coming from Susie, who Ed doesn't like, they're
Mhm.
open to it. Imagine having access to that type of clarity and that knowledge at any level of the company. That's going to benefit them. And again, like technology was 20 years ago, or however long ago, people didn't really understand the websites or coding or anything like that, but they knew something in the future. They knew technology was going to be big in the future, so they hired someone who understood it to move the company forward. And over time, the organization, the C-suite executives, the company started to understand the value of a CTO and really started to lean on them. This is the same thing with the chief consciousness officer. People don't know about it. They don't want to understand what consciousness is. It really doesn't maybe in a sense make sense, but they know in their gut, at their soul level, something's happening on this planet. More people are going to start to understand its consciousness. We better have someone on staff who really understands that.
Definitely. Ah, lovely. Lovely, Charlie. I mean, this is really, really groundbreaking, very interesting. It has been there, but we didn't know about this. So if our listeners would like to connect with you and explore more about the Chief Consciousness Officer as a role, significance of it, and how they can start ahead, what's the best way to do that?
Well, when you put this video or podcast out, I'll give you some links, but the best thing is my LinkedIn. The LinkedIn has posts daily about this position. So it's just constantly talking about what it is, what it's not, how it benefits a CEO, how it benefits marketing, how it benefits sales. Uh, just a continuous reminder that it's not spiritual, it's tactical, and just really breaking down what this position is so people can really understand it. It can kind of sink into them. And then there's all the information about like who I am, how they can reach me, So I'll just send you my LinkedIn profile for people to go there. And then I'll put my email and cell phone in there as well. Cause I'm sure people, as more, I've been doing tons of these podcasts lately, which shows me, and admittedly so by most of the hosts, they wouldn't have had me on 3 months ago. So that shows me how quickly time is speeding up on this planet, how quickly people are going from, I don't even, that's not even in my awareness to, oh, this sounds groundbreaking. This sounds like the next logical position. Where has this come from? Right? It's just in the collective. It's just starting to come up. So more websites like yours, business oriented, entrepreneur oriented, company oriented, even political oriented, are wanting to understand this position because I talk about less division and less conflict. We all want the world to be better than it is, than it was. We want to leave it better for the next generation. Well, we can't do that when we believe we're right and the other side is wrong. And they think they're right and we're just as wrong. Just that simple 5 seconds of talking to you about that plants a seed. It lets them know that the division they want to rid the world of is being created by them as well. So I'd love for them to jump into my LinkedIn if they want to contact me about questions about this position. If they're looking to hire it, consult. I'm ready.
It's really great, Charlie. Really great. And thank you so much for this deeply, deeply insightful conversation. You have really opened a new door into what conscious leadership can truly look like. I mean, till this time, I have had several conversations on intuitive leadership, impact minded leadership, empathetic leadership. But this is something really, really interesting, groundbreaking. And I urge all my listeners out there, especially the founders, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or whosoever is interested, please go and explore conscious leadership. And I'll have all the links in the show notes for all of you. And thank you so much once again, Charlie, for this conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on.
Okay, great. So, as a final note, listeners, as the world accelerates at an alarming level, rate, the ones who will thrive are not just the most skilled, but the most conscious. So, until next time, keep blending brilliance with boldness. This is BizBlend, and I'm your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.